So the battery industry is going through a period of explosive growth with more demand for testing than ever before. Tom Cleaver, co-founder and CEO of Cognition Energy Limited, is here with us today, and they're committed to being the best in class at cell testing. So Tom joins us today to talk through his learnings on building the second largest testing house in the UK. Tom, is that correct?
That is correct to the best of my knowledge. David, thank you very much for inviting me on the podcast.
Absolute pleasure. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to share with us some of your learnings, some of the stories that you've got. It would be great if you could kick us off with just a bit of a sort of background around what it is that you do and what services you offer.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. So, yes, I'm Tom. I'm the CEO of Cognition. I'm one of the four founders. As you said, we're committed to world-class battery testing. So we want to be best in class and provide significant capacity to the UK and the wider world. The aim of this is to deliver safer and more reliable batteries for everyone. So you test them better, you understand them better, they will last longer. So we have a cell testing service and we have some little testing products we offer alongside that to our customers.
So it is a big concern, isn't it? This battery safety side of things. You sort of hear of car batteries getting caught on fire and you can't put them out and things like that. So
Absolutely. So people are concerned about safety. They're also concerned about performance. So if you're sitting on a
okay.
battery in an electric vehicle, you don't want it to go bang. So you want to test your batteries thoroughly to know what it will do in every scenario. And then if you've designed it correctly, that means that it won't go bang. Then various other design things get put in to sort of fire retardants to stop any worst case scenarios, like you're in a very bad crash. But then the second bit is you just want it to work. You want to know that when you get in your car and you're driving to see your relatives a few hundred miles away, that your car will get you there. And a lot of testing is around that of it's a cold winter's day, it's 2 in the morning, you're climbing into your car, is it going to make it? Or there's some sort of medical emergency, you need to get to the hospital right now. Is your car going to make it? So that's what the engineers designing these vehicles and any other product that contains a battery, that's what they care about. And we offer a service to do that because fundamentally what you need is the testing firepower. You need to test lots and lots of different scenarios to be sure that your product will work. We offer that and we work with our customers to be able to provide them that service and provide them the data at the end of the day to allow them to make decisions.
So you're kind of pushing these batteries and things to their absolute limits and sort of see what their failing points are and what risks are proposed with that. Is that?
Yeah, basically yes. And when you say sort of pushing them to absolute limits, what happens is that after a while they die. So if you imagine you've
Okay.
owned a mobile phone for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you'll notice that eventually it may last a day or two when you buy it, but by the time by the time you think I need a new phone, it's lasting a few hours between charges. That's actually how the batteries die for us.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you see the worst case scenario where something catches fire. It can happen, it does happen, but it's very, very rare. And that's what we and our customers spend a lot of time worrying about and trying to make sure that would never happen in the real world. We all carry a phone in our pockets. When was the last time it exploded on you?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
hit it makes the news because it's obviously very scary and it's terrible for the person it happens to, but it's very, very rare that it actually occurs because of
Yeah.
all that work that goes in advance.
Yeah, very true. So you're one of four founders of Cognition and Cognition Energy. How long ago did you set the company up?
That was 2018, so amazingly
Yeah.
6 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun.
I bet you've
Um,
seen some changes in the industry since then, though. I'd imagine there's.
Oh, the rocket thrusters have absolutely been attached to the industry since then. So
Yeah.
when I started Cognition, everyone was talking about blockchain. If you remember that, that was the big
Yeah.
thing at the time. It was, oh, is that going to change the world in some way? And then batteries were starting to take off because Tesla, everyone looked at them and gone, okay, cars work. Right. The entire industry has then started moving and investing tens of or even hundreds of billions into battery development for electric vehicles and for grid scale stuff. And it just the explosive growth. It's difficult to comprehend and to put into words, to be
I'd,
honest with you.
I'd imagine it's a full-time job just trying to keep up with the change that's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And there are analyst companies who they can't hire people fast enough to try and work out what's going on. We in the industry are hiring like mad and training people up on batteries because there aren't enough people to go around.
Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
completely bonkers.
So you're 6 years in. What would you say are your biggest learnings from that last 6 years as a business owner?
Number one, do not do it on your own. I've
Okay.
got three co-founders. They're all academics at Imperial College. They've all got full-time jobs being academics at Imperial College. So therefore, I was the full-time committed, fully committed person trying to do it, and it means I can't take a holiday or be sick. Which is obviously incredibly draining because you think, yeah, I can work hard, I can work 7 day weeks. Like, yeah, you can for a while. Try doing it for 6 years on end. It really doesn't work. So absolutely, I would say if you've got a great idea for a business, find someone who believes in that as much as you do. A, you'll be able to sort of improve your ideas, but B is you can swap between you as to who takes the time off, and you can have a down day and an off day, and it doesn't matter. Whereas if it's essentially you, you're in big trouble. My board are fantastic. My fellow founders, they do work for me, but they can put it at most 1 day a week in when
Yeah.
I need someone 5 days a week. So do not do it alone would be number
So how
one.
did you get? How did you? So it sounds like you're talking from experience. How did you get around that?
It started off by hiring an office manager, so starting to take the
Okay.
admin tasks off of me, and then I've been very fortunate that I've just had an operations director sign a contract, so she starts in about a month's time to help me out. But essentially, I am the sort of C-suite for Cognition as it stands because we're
Yeah.
about a dozen people today, but I am the only manager, and yeah, after a while it hurts. So
Yeah.
yeah, you need to hire people in. That costs money, and when you're very, very early days, you don't have that money.
Yeah.
Um, so if we're going to talk about other learnings, I would absolutely say diversify your customers. So don't try, everyone wants to chase the big whale of a customer. Oh, they're going to
Yeah.
pay all my bills. Problem is, if they change their mind, and I've had that, in this case of, well, British Vault went bust quite spectacularly, in the industry, leaving me with a £250,000 unpaid bill.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite a lot of money for a very small company. You suddenly realize, oh, I'm in serious trouble. We worked very hard. I and my team worked very, very hard to my engineers. We put on 12 customers in 12 months. Suddenly, if one disappears, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I should have done that early on. That was stupid, but you're inexperienced when you start a company, and there's loads of things people could have said, "Oh, I told you so." Well, yes, but there's only so much you can absorb as when you're starting a company. So I'd say absolutely diversify your customers and oversell it. So I've got a certain capacity. I sell more than that, like plane companies do, because I don't expect everyone to turn up. You're not going to win
Yeah.
every bid you put in. So put yourself out there, see what happens, and yeah, you will you'll go from strength to strength as we have over this previous year.
Yeah. That's some valuable lessons there. I think the don't do it alone is a really key one because business can be really quite lonely, and
Yes.
everybody encounters certain challenges, whether it's a bit of imposter syndrome or some knowledge gaps, or even just where a little bit more focus in certain areas can make a big difference. So having people around you to support you is crucial, isn't it?
100%. And because as well, people think differently there, and they'll, if they're a sort of a co-founder like yourself, they will absolutely speak truth to power because they're of the same level as you, and they should challenge you, and your ideas will improve as a result. So you'll reduce the loneliness, because you'll both be as committed as each other, or if ideally if there's more than two of you, and yeah, your ideas will get better. You'll be able to put more in, and you'll get more out. There's so many upsides to it, and it's just one of those things I look back on and go, that is absolutely the number one thing I would do differently.
Good. You mentioned team a second ago. We'll go into team in a minute. Before we
Mm,
do, financial management.
yes.
Having a £250,000 debtor sounds like there's some real challenges, and you've probably learned some lessons around the importance of financial managers. What advice would you give business owners out there regarding their sort of financial management and cash controls?
I mean, everyone says cash is king, right? It's absolutely true. You need enough wages enough money in your bank account to pay the wages at the end of the month. That is paramount. You've got to be on it. People will find excuses to pay you late. You've got to chase people. You've got to be fair about this stuff. You can't be unfair, but you've just got to push really, really hard. At the end of the day, you buy things and you sell things, and you just need to make sure that the money changes hands at the right time. That you've always got enough in there. Um, and yeah, you start off with a spreadsheet, and you end up with either a sophisticated spreadsheet and some other online tools like Zero, like we use to try and balance out all this stuff to work out, okay, who owes us what, when, how do we plan this stuff, how do you plan out financial scenarios. It takes time to build this stuff, but it's actually all very possible. At the end of the day, it's just maths. You can't buy a Ferrari with £1.
No, exactly. You're right. It is just maths, and having the time, taking the time to sort of plan out those scenarios, the cash flow forecasting and things like that. The beauty
Yes.
of doing it that way on a spreadsheet is you can have a play with it. It's a safe environment to play with different parameters, isn't it? To be able to forecast what if I did this, what if that happened.
Absolutely. And then of course you can turn to the wider industry, right? You don't just need to do this on your own. This is why you have this podcast. There's a network, right? There's people you want to talk to.
Yeah,
You can go and hire a fractional CFO, as we're in the process of doing, to start modeling some really interesting scenarios because you can do so much in a spreadsheet. It's essentially it's back of a fag packet calculation. You do actually anything more complex than that, you probably want a professional to help you because it's easy to make a mistake in a spreadsheet, and we've all done it. And you've typed the wrong number in, you haven't noticed, and it spits out a number at the bottom. You're, oh,
yeah.
great, fantastic, I can do this thing. You can't because you've made a mistake. So you go and hire someone who's got the skills, and frankly, usually has a more sophisticated tool set. And you say, can you model this idea I've got? And they go, oh yeah, this is what it will cost you, and this is how much you'd make off of it. And that sort of stuff is invaluable. So
These are the
um,
risks. If you go down that
the
route, these are the challenges.
absolutely, and usually they've seen this sort of stuff before because, of course,
Yeah.
it's their day job to financially model things. So you're not alone. Is absolutely what I'd say. Is you
Well, it
can
kind
go
of
and
goes
ask people for help.
back to your first point, really, is don't do it on your own. If you need that sort of expert advice, expert help,
Yeah,
concentrate on
and
what you're good at, and then outsource and resource people that are good
yeah,
at what you do.
because people provide fantastic services, right? And this is the thing is that you can go to an accountancy firm and say, I need some support with this particular part, please help, and they will provide you a sort of a reasonable quote for doing a reasonable bit of work. Sometimes you will need that level of sophistication. We're in that stage right now, so we're trying to think how do we explosively grow,
Yeah,
because we've been organically growing so far. And at that point, you go, yeah, we need help. We'll go and get help.
yeah,
And that absolutely has been the right idea.
and grow in a sustainable and controllable way that doesn't cause you.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you grow too fast, what happens is at the end of the month, you don't have enough wages, money in the account for wages, and that's obviously that's the nightmare scenario because you've got to make some painful decisions, or even you might go bust. So
Yeah,
you've got to balance these things, and it does help to have a sane a separate pair of eyes to look at this thing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So talking about team, then. So you mentioned sort of recruiting and trying to find as many people as possible, and there isn't
Mm.
enough in the marketplace. And recruitment can be a real challenge. Certainly over the last few years, the recruitment market has changed significantly. What sort of qualities do you look for in your team members, and then how do you sort of attract the right talent and then foster that really productive work environment?
It's been difficult. It's been a bit of a roller coaster over the last few years, you say. So sort of during COVID, actually, sort of there was huge numbers of people looking for jobs, because everything was been thrown up in the air, and then it all switched round, and suddenly it was difficult to find people. And sort of I seem to be in a bit of a middle ground at the moment. We do seem to be able to hire people, but there just aren't many of them about.
Okay.
One way around it is essentially you have to offer higher wages. You just simply have to go, well, we have to bite the bullet, and if we want experienced people, with higher wages. So what do we look for? Yes, people with experience. You don't need to take time out of your day to train them. And when you're a small company, that's actually pretty critical because I hired some graduates initially who were fantastic. They were really good, but it meant that I was doing less stuff because I had to train them on
Yeah.
things, which obviously is it's a trade we made at the time. And it was, at the time, I think it was actually probably the right one for what we were doing. And I'm still in touch with some of those guys, and they're fantastic, but they've all since moved on. But the people we have now, I've got some hugely experienced people with sort of 20, 30 years experience in making things, operations management, testing stuff. And that has made a world of difference because we can move faster. And when I come up with a silly idea, I very much encourage my team to challenge me and go, no, no, Tom, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, okay, well, in which case let's change the plan. So absolutely, so experience and the ability to speak truth to power. So actually tell me, no, Tom, you're wrong. They think differently to me. So we've got a really wide range of people. So we've got sort of multiple nationalities, of people in this room, various people. Some of them don't have much in the way of formal education, but they're 20 plus years in production, for example.
Yeah.
Others have got PhDs. So there's a real mixture, a melting pot. I encourage everyone to work together, and what comes out of that is some really, really great ideas.
Yeah, having diversity in the workplace and then being having
Yes.
the freedom and the comfort to be able to raise ideas and not feel afraid to sort of question and challenge and
Yes, and the people who've got the confidence to pick something up and run with it. I am a manager who very much likes to delegate authority down. So I'm
Yeah,
getting the team to do it at the moment. It's like, okay, we've taken on a new unit. It's really quite large. There's big empty space. What should go in it? So I turned to the team and said, you know what we do? Tell me what it should look like. I don't want to work that
yeah,
out. And they've gone, oh, all right, okay. And they've all gone off and had a big meeting last week, and there's going to be further meetings in the next couple of weeks, and they're going to come back to me with a plan and say, this is what we think we want in terms of space. And then we go and take it to an architect and go, right, make that the beginnings of the reality.
yeah.
Because we understand what bits need to go where, but we don't understand building regulations, and an architect does.
I
But
think I
yeah,
think
they
I
pick it
think
up and run with it.
pulling the lessons out of there, what I'm hearing is kind of that recruitment with purpose. Going back to that planning thing, isn't it? Having the idea of what it is that you need now and where you're going, and then making the recruitment piece around what the business needs and what you need to be able to move forward.
Absolutely that. So there's a piece where I actually turn to the existing team and say, I need to make we've got the ability to hire new people. What role should we hire for? And they go, well, we're actually pinched over here. I
Yeah,
then get them to write the sort of the job spec and say, well, tell me who you think you want. And then do that. So sort of I wrote the initial ones going, I need a person to do the testing bit, I need a person to do the data bit, and a person to do the sort of the designy bits because we need to design things as we go. And I would write those initial ones, but then everything else I've got them to write it because they actually know better than I do what we need.
yeah,
So yeah, it's about trusting your team, it's about hiring experience, and like you say, diversity in the team. So there's that whole melting pot of ideas.
yeah. Really good advice. Sounds like it's a really, really, like I say, your words, explosive sort of industry, and lots of change going. Excuse me, lots of change going on constantly. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where's the business going over the next 5 years?
Well, hopefully, dramatically larger than where we are today.
Okay.
So we have 600 test channels right now, which is a relatively modest amount. We'll hopefully be in the thousands by that point, as in multiple thousands. When you just look around at what the industry is doing, how many gigafactories need to be built in Europe? All of
Yeah,
those factories will need possibly to each of them, it might need 10,000 test channels, but they'll need to scale up and outsource as well to help with them get over the initial bow wave of work. So we need to be enormous. We might even be thinking, or we might have even established a second site by then, potentially in the UK, potentially in Europe.
yeah,
It's sort of yeah, how fast do you grow when the industry is investing billions? Should we invest millions to try and keep up with it? Probably yes, I think is the answer. Where that quite leads to is a very interesting question, but we absolutely will diversify. So we do sort of particularly cell testing. So the sort of a cell is a thing you find at the back of your remote control for your
yeah,
TV, an individual little battery. Put most of them all together in a big black box. That's a battery that might go in a car. You need we do the cell testing at the moment. We'll probably expand it to module. We'll do safety testing. So that's the sort of certification bit, the big sticker on the side that says this is safe to drive around with.
yeah.
Um, we're looking at software stuff because we have to improve our efficiency. So we may as well sell some of that capability to other people. But there's all these things we could do, but actually, realistically, we should probably just do one or two because that allows you to focus, really push the resources on that, and just go, okay, we're going to go down that route there, and we're going to really expand that bit. And
Really
that
dominate the marketplace in that area.
Oh yeah, it's just yeah, and just not spread your resources too thin. No one has infinite resources, so you've got to really focus down in what's a good idea. So I keep looking at all these wonderful ideas and go, oh, because I get excited. I'm an engineer, and this is this new shiny thing.
Entrepreneurs do tend to have lots of ideas, and it's like
Yes,
shiny object
yes,
syndrome.
yes. We all love the next big thing, right? We all get excited about the next bit of tech that comes out. And when you're running your own company, developing stuff, you see this stuff all the time, and it's really difficult to go, no, don't do that thing because you know it could be good, but that will distract you from the other thing you're doing, which is actually your main breadwinner. So you only diversify when it's a good idea. So all those ideas I mentioned just now, sort of, oh, we can expand with these other types of testing. It's like, well, we could do them, but actually, we're going through a strategy review at the moment. In a couple of months, we'll have a very good idea of what we're actually going to spend our money on. But I see, yeah, multiple times the size we are now, maybe 3 or 4 times the size at least. So we're 12 people at the moment. Hopefully, we'll be sort of tapping on the door of 100 people. It's difficult to know, but the
So,
industry's growing and it needs it.
sounds exciting. It's going to be fascinating to watch your journey over the next few years and sort of see where it does go. I think it's
Thank
a
you very
great
much indeed.
opportunity for you. Tom, I could
Yeah.
talk to you all day about this sort of stuff. It's been really great to have you on the podcast. Where can our listeners go to find out a little bit more about you, your services, and things like that?
It's been great to talk to you as well. And yes, I could easily talk all day. I'm desperately trying not to. We have there's a little bit more information on our website, which is cognition.energy, and there is some further information on our LinkedIn where we regularly post some updates. Those are the two places to look for information about us, and obviously that this podcast itself. So we'll be trying to link to that as well.
Perfect. Tom, thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure.